morning, good morning, or as you may be able to tell, morning. It's kind of a crazy morning, huh? It is for me at least. Well, the morning's not been crazy, but the night before was definitely a little bit crazy. So, y'all, I have been feeling like I am supposed to share certain things. And I've been hesitant, which y'all are probably like, really? You share a lot. But I've been hesitant because it gets pretty personal and it gets hard and vulnerable, But after some things I was just kind of working through last night, I decided that if it can help another mama and help another mama and child's relationship, or especially help a stepmama and their stepchild's relationship, then I want to share it. So I think I put on the title here of like why emotions are so important for a mom. And what I mean by that is really why they're so important for us to feel and to show and to not bottle up and, handle in a healthy way. Good morning, Sabrina. And then a step further of why they can be tricky from the stepmama's point of view. Good morning, April. Because let me just throw this out there. Anybody who is a stepmama or is acting as a mom to a child who they did not give birth to will instantly understand, okay? I am never into putting down the other mamas. Never into that. There's no point in that. There's no healing in that. It doesn't do anything but make everybody else involved more angry. So here's the thing. But there is a point where, like I said, everybody who's mothering, a child that maybe they didn't give birth to will understand this. It gets tricky. It gets tricky to show emotion sometimes without showing some true emotion sometimes. But I'm going to take that further. So sometimes I feel like, completely an I feel statement, that, if you're a mama, you know what? No amount of anything you could do or say is going to make your child view you any differently. This is just the fact with kids, okay? And this is why kids want to stay in horrible situations sometimes. They love their parents. I'm not just going to single out mamas, but I'm talking about mamas here. So y'all hear me out there. They're going to love their mama no matter what. They're going to want to be with their mama no matter what. They're going to defend their mama no matter what. It's in them to do that, right? So sometimes as a stepmama, I feel like that freedom must be nice. And hear me when I say it's not like I wish I had the ability to just screw up and it not be a big deal. Hi, Casey. Good morning. It's not like that. Like, I wish I could have that freedom of the birth mom where I could just do whatever I want and know that child's still stuck to me forever. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is that when it comes to letting things fly out of our mouths or showing emotions about specific things, there is a boundary almost in that, and it is definitely a difficult one to find, because if you go into it and you start being fake with it, you're never going to earn your stepchild's trust. Flat out, you just aren't. Now, it may be a different situation if you have the child from the time they're really, really, really young. That might be different. And I can only talk about what I know, what I've experienced, okay? I have a 7-year-old who's amazing, okay? But I will never earn his trust if I go into it faking certain areas because I'm scared I'll say the wrong thing. I've had to learn that because in the beginning I was so scared to say the wrong thing to him because I didn't want to hurt him. And every child is different, I'm sure, but honestly, you have to find, and this is the part that is tricky from a stepmom point, you have to find that natural boundary of we've developed this trust with each other. And so I can be honest in this sense. Now, maybe I need to do a good job of checking myself and making sure that my emotions aren't running away with me. Maybe I actually have to do some regulating so that I know that while I have his trust and I share some things honestly, that it's not mixed with any bitterness. Do you guys hear what I'm saying there? And I think that that goes for mamas in general across the board. But I do think that there's this little opportunity in the stepmom world or step-parent world that we have something put right in front of us that we could just say, well, it's a poopy situation and I'm free to say whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, okay, I'll just be fake about it because I don't want to say the wrong thing, instead of looking into it and going, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that there's no bitterness there? And that's hard. That is hard. That's hard in any situation. Any situation, that's hard. Nobody wants to self-examine and figure out if they've got bitterness towards someone, because then what does that mean? When you find bitterness towards someone, normally in the very beginning, it's what we would call justified, right? Hey, Teresa, good morning. It would be justified. You never are just bitter for no reason, typically, right? So you go back to a root and you're like, oh yeah, because they X, Y, Z. And sometimes you're in a situation where they continue to X, Y, Z. So when you find bitterness there, you have the choice to go, okay, in order for me to not have a taste of bitterness and a feel of bitterness, and in order for, my husband and my child to not hear bitterness when I speak, that means I have to forgive that person, whether they are still doing the action that caused the hurt or not. That's hard. That's hard. And I would go as far to say that most people do not want to self-examine and do not want to check their feelings and emotions for that reason right there. And I don't blame you. I'm just saying, I don't blame you. When it's a situation where it is a constant thing, it is tough. It is so, so tough. Hey, Megs. Oh, hi. So, y'all, this is the part that I've been saying the whole time. I'm not going to get emotional. In my head, I've been saying it. And I'm making a video about emotions. But here's the thing. That boundary, finding that boundary is so difficult. Okay? But across the board as mamas, if we're not showing our children it's okay to feel and show emotions, then how are they going to grow up feeling about emotions? What are they going to believe about their own emotions? Or if they grow up watching us explode with our emotions every time, what are they going to grow up believing about emotions? So it's one of those things everybody wants to avoid. No one wants to deal with the hard emotions, but they get harder and harder the less you deal with them. They get harder and harder and harder and harder to deal with. They truly do. I found it took a year to actually gain my stepchildren's trust after their father passed away. Oh, it's so hard, Sabrina. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just reading your message right here. Yeah, it's hard. It is so difficult to, first off, it's difficult to earn someone's trust. You would think it would be very easy to earn a child's trust, and it is until you're dealing with the mama situation, and sometimes the dad situation as well, but again, I'm speaking for what I know. Because I was just talking about this with someone, validation of what they're feeling is so important. It is so important, and I'm going to get to a little story of what happened last night to explain why this is so in my heart. But you think about, you're trying to gain someone's trust. Now think about, you're trying to gain a child's trust where you are now filling a role of the mom, that they are constantly dealing with the reality that they're losing. or dealing with the reality that they're not treating them like they should. But at the same point, that child will defend that mama no matter what. And they shouldn't not. That is a childlike feature. So earning that trust is so tricky. And you're right, Sabrina, it can only really be gained through showing them. Showing them they're loved and they're cared for and that there is no difference. You know what I mean? We are, in a way, we're blessed that we don't have other children right now because, there really doesn't have to be any of that wonder of if, I would treat him differently than quote unquote my own. And y'all, I'm not saying it's like this for every step parent. I do believe it can be. I 100% do believe that any step parent can step into a role and that God can give them the heart for that child where there is no separation. I know that because that is what has happened. From day one when I met Jackson, we just instantly bonded. Instantly. And then through everything now, it is still shocking to me how much trust and relationship that we have. I mean, it's shocking. But at the same point, it's not, because my biggest struggle with being a stepmama is that nowhere do I feel like a stepmama. Nowhere. I don't feel like it at all. And so that's where those healthy boundaries of realizing I need to do my own self-work to understand and let the Lord in those areas to help me heal and not be bitter. Those healthy boundaries have to be there so my reactions don't make him feel like he's got to pick a side. My reactions don't make him feel like because he wants to love me as a mom, it means he doesn't love his, biological mom. Nowhere do I want him to feel like that. He has enough of that inner turmoil already because he shouldn't be in this situation. Let's be honest. This is not a situation that should ever happen, and yet it happens all the time. So this is what we do. This is what we're left to do. So on the emotion front, though, I mean, you cannot gain trust without vulnerability. You cannot gain trust without showing emotions. That child's never going to feel safe with you until they have seen you show your emotions when they're not just happy. Think about that. Think about it. As adults, we should be the same way. Sometimes all we do is we base someone off of their happy emotions. But y'all, seeing James at his worst and James seeing me at his worst, at my worst, are probably the moments that we realize, okay, we can do this. Because, and there can always be a worse, there can always be a better. But until there's that raw vulnerability, that trust really can't happen. Do you know what I mean? You don't fully feel safe until you know what's expected. And that is just human nature. Children are insanely like that because they thrive with structure. They thrive with knowing what's going to happen next. So when you take a child who has come from a situation of the only consistent thing was being inside of a room, inside of one house, never leaving, everything else was chaotic, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. The trust factor is going to be hard. I know by the grace of God that we have this huge trust with each other, and it continues to grow. And I believe it continues to grow because we have such a level of honesty with him. But here's the thing. It has to have boundaries. I tried to get a part of a stepmother's group very in the beginning because I wanted help in how to love Jackson. In a way that wouldn't make him feel like he had to choose me over his mom or whatever, because that's crap. And y'all, I gotta be completely honest, there were a few really awesome ladies in there. For the most part, it was just bashing other people, and I can't do that. I can't do that. And so I started thinking about the difference between processing your emotions and calling it that in the name of venting. I'm not saying that there's not a space for when you need to vent something out, but I am saying that if all you're venting out is just complaining about someone else, what life is that bringing? What health is that bringing into the situation? At the end of the day, do you feel better or do you still feel angry at that person? You know what I mean? So this all came up because we've been dealing with lots of emotions lately. Not only is Jackson feeling more and more safe that he can feel his own normal 7-year-old boy emotions, but he is quickly, as he said last night, it's hitting him. He told me, it's like hitting me. It's hitting him how much he doesn't talk to his mama. It's hitting him how much it doesn't make sense to him why it's so difficult. But he's so smart and he's so wise, and y'all kids are. You think they're not going to figure these things out. You want to try to protect them. I've done this. I've decided to stop doing it. I was trying to make excuses for the other person so many times of, well, maybe this happened and she couldn't call you back when she said she would. Maybe this happened, that's why you haven't talked to her in 2 months. That's not helping him. Now, that's my natural instinct because I want to protect his little heart. But when he's been asking questions, now we're just honest with him. And sometimes I have to say, I don't know. I'm so sorry, buddy. I don't know. And it doesn't make sense. And you deserve better. That doesn't mean she doesn't care. Doesn't mean she doesn't love you. But she's not treating you how you deserve. And I'm so sorry. So those conversations have been happening a lot. And there's a lot of trauma work also happening because a lot has come to light. And last night, y'all, and these are things I don't typically share, but again, I just feel like I'm supposed to because I know there's other people going through things like this, and it's so difficult. Because when your child's dealing with trauma, you're dealing with trauma. And I am blessed beyond belief. It's surprising, even the counselor's surprised by it, that Jax wants me with him. And that's because of the trust we've built up. And I'm so thankful for that. But y'all have to be 100% honest. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is so hard. Because I'm living it with him. I'm hearing him have to say these things and then want to talk about these things. And the emotions that come up. So last night I had a realization. Can't make excuses for her. He's too smart. He'll eventually understand. Yeah, and you know what? He understands a lot of it now. And so when we make excuses for it, he feels like we're lying to him. Like he feels like we're not being completely honest. And I get it. So last night, a little bit came up. You know, he realized, like I was saying, it hit him how much she hasn't called him, hasn't talked to him. And, y'all, this is why it happened. I'm just going to be honest. He called his brother. He's got a half-brother. And wanted to play a game with him. And he answers. And then there's all these loud noises happening. You can hear other kids. You can hear a guy in the background. And then she hops on the phone for like 2 seconds. Oh, hi, baby. Like nothing. Like the last time you talked, it wasn't that you said, I'll call you right back and didn't. Like, everything's fine, hunky-dory, and I love you and I miss you so much. Y'all, that's so not healthy. So anyway, we hung up the phone, and then a little while after, he came back to me, and he goes, I don't think she's being honest. And I said, what do you mean, Bubs? And he's like, well, this person, she said, was out of her life. And then, you know, she said she would call me back before, and he's smart. You cannot use excuses like, I have to call you back because my phone's dying. Because guess what happens in this day and age? Your child comes back later and goes, hey, Kirby, you know what? You can talk to someone on the phone while your phone's on the charger, can't you? Yes, buddy, you can. So anyway, that whole acting like it's no big deal and like nothing has happened and everything's hunky-dory fine really messes with them. It messes with anybody. It would drive you crazy as an adult. So anyway, so that stirred up some emotion. But yesterday morning he woke up half awake and was like, oh man, I had a weird dream I want to tell you about. I'm like, okay. And then he went to the bathroom and then never thought about it again. So then last night he comes over to me and he's just sobbing. And he says, I remembered my dream. And it was that I had to say goodbye to my mom and she just disappeared. And so we start talking through it. We start praying through it. And the dilemma there is that he doesn't understand fully. But in a way he does, because he says, you know what, one day it'll hit her too. One day it'll hit her too, and I hope it's something that she can come back and say, it just hit me. So here's a 7-year-old boy figuring all this out and yet feeling all the emotions and yet has had to carry around this fear that she's just going to disappear. And that's been a common theme since we got him. It was actually a year ago this week that we went and got him, and it was supposed to just be for a couple weeks. And then most people know what happened. That's been a consistent theme, that she was going to disappear. So he's just crying, and I'm holding him, and there's stuff popping up. We're talking about it, and then shortly after that, he goes and cuddles Hank, the basset hound, on this futon we put on the floor for family night, and now it's stayed on the floor. He's on that, probably 10 feet in front of me, and I'm sitting at the table, and he falls asleep, and I just start sobbing. Because I realize the reason it is so hard to walk with him through all of this stuff is that I do not have the answer. The only answer is I don't get it. It does not make sense to me. There's no level that my heart can understand what's happening other than she's that lost. And I can't fix it. I can't fix it. So, having to be in a space where you stay vulnerable with your child through a process where they can heal, it means you have to be vulnerable. And it means you also have to go into it every minute understanding that you can't fix it. I don't have a magic cream for this. So, we just love him. We just hold him. And y'all, that was just, it just hit me last night, I think, harder because a part of me, this is the thing where I was saying that we have an opportunity to self-regulate and self-examine what's going on, because when I was first emotional, I thought, I'm so angry at her. I'm so angry. And you know what? That emotion is 100% okay. But then I took it to, she needs to know what she's doing. She needs to see these moments. She's not here for the times that he's completely broken and I just hold him for 30 minutes while he cries. She's not here for that stuff. She needs to see these and feel these. And then I had to take a step back and go, okay, wait, let's examine that. That would turn into bitterness very quickly. That's me stepping into the role of the judge. And it's not my role. My role right now is to love that child the best I can. So we have to forgive her in those moments when I want to just lose it. Normally pausing and self-examining means I have to forgive her. And y'all, I have to forgive things every day. Every single day. But if I don't, and this has happened, I've not been perfect with this at all, but if I don't, then bitterness builds up, and Jackson feels the difference. And he doesn't feel safe anymore, because now he's feeling other people's emotions towards his mom, and he has so many he's got to deal with on his own. He won't feel safe anymore the second he feels like he has to defend his mama more than he already would. And bitterness is not a good thing anyway. And anger in the moment, it's 100% justified. Y'all, if you knew half of this stuff. Let's just say we have one of the kindest, strongest 7-year-old boys I've ever met. to stay kind through everything. But if I want that to continue, and if I want him to heal to the point where he can just be who he is, and not have to walk around with fear that people are going to disappear, then I have to be willing to do the hard work of being vulnerable with these emotions and forgiving. We talk about that all the time. I've been very intentional lately to show him that I have emotions about it. But I make sure it's after I've been pretty regulated with it. You know, you can't be showing him emotions that are just sparked by anger. I have told him I don't understand, and I hate to see the results of it. I have told him that, well, you know what, and truth be told, I wanted to send her a message and say, hey, I don't understand what's going on. It's been a minute. You talked to your son a minute over the last 2 months, literally 1 minute. And I told James gave me great advice and said, hey, the other day he told us thank you for involving him in these things, and if we do send a message and it turns into her never reaching out again, he needs to understand. So in the right way, I said, buddy, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very protective of you. I'm feeling very hurt for you. I'm feeling like it's not okay. And I'm feeling like I want to say something in a very kind way, but I'm feeling like I want to say something. And I don't know if it'll help. It might help. It might have the opposite reaction. And he said, I want you to message her, because maybe one day, he said, I don't think it'll happen soon. This is my 7-year-old. I don't think it'll happen soon. I don't think it'll happen soon. But maybe one day, if we do send her those things out of love, it will hit her. So he was a part of the message I sent. Before I sent anything, we discussed it and talked about it. Now there's the line. The people who are angry at the other mamas, the people who let that bitterness rise up, the people who feel like, because y'all, let me tell you something. As a stepmom, there are natural emotions that pop up and go, you know what, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have to be dealing with this. If it weren't for you, we could just be enjoying a childhood. If it weren't for you, blah, blah, blah. There's a natural part that feels like you pick up an extra weight. You know, an extra weight because of the situation. That's fine. That's natural. But face it. Face what it is and let it go. Because when you actually face it, you're going to realize there's no point in carrying that, and it doesn't help you. It doesn't help your kids. But the ones who don't face it and they just carry it, there is absolutely no way that you could sit down with your child and say, hey, let's come up with something to say to mommy out of love that shows how you're feeling. You would not be able to do that if you got bitterness in there. You'd want to be adding things in there that are just jabs. I get there. I get it. I've been there. I have not been perfect. But at this point, Jackson is way more important than me getting a jab in. He's worth the work. And I believe wholeheartedly that we all have different callings in life, and we have tons of different purposes. We're not just created for just one thing. But I do believe this is a huge reason that I was created, was this moment with Jackson. So I have to honor him, I have to honor how he's feeling, and I also have to honor how I'm feeling, but keep it within those boundaries. And I do believe that goes for any mama, stepmom or not. It just feels like the boundary part has to be a little more thought through on a stepmama's part. And y'all, I'm going to finish this, but I have to finish this with, I do believe in redemption. I do believe that God come in and change anybody's heart. We pray for her daily. And we're honest with Jax about that too. We believe she can do it. We believe Jesus can get in there and can change her heart and can heal her up to where she can be what you deserve and she can be in our lives. But until she can be a little healthier, we're going to protect you because that's our jobs. So every single day we talk about redemption and we believe it. and we've left a wide open door for it. That's also important for him to know. Because otherwise, you might end up with a preteen angry at us, feeling like we took him from his mama. Anyway, across the board emotions, we've got to be willing to feel and deal with our own emotions so that we can show our kids how to deal with emotions. Because y'all, you can tell them a million things, and what they're going to start doing is not what you say. Y'all know that. They're not going to imitate what you say. They're going to imitate what you do. So that's how we need to teach them how to deal with emotions, is we have to step up as adults, whether you had a family system that taught you emotions were safe or not. We have to step up as adults and go, you know what? We need to heal in this department, and we need to put the work into this department. One, it'll help us. It'll help us individually. It'll help our relationship with other people. It'll help our relationship with our spouses. It'll help our relationship with our kids. And then we are going to teach and grow and develop children who are going to grow up into adults who don't have to do that, because they're just going to already walk in knowing, you know what, emotions can be rough, but it's normal. And this is what you do with them. Oh, thanks, Teresa. Alright, y'all. I'm literally on my floor in the bedroom. We've got this big window right here and this little, wooden thing that opens. And I'm going to be honest, this is where I hit my knees a lot. Not physically, ow, I hit my knees. I mean, this is where I come in the mornings a lot and have to process those emotions and pray and just get on my knees and ask God, I don't know what I'm doing. Because y'all, I'm going to be honest, and I know lots of stepmamas can agree, we don't know what we're doing. We just do the best we can. But I think it starts with being vulnerable. The other thing, I'm just going to share this, is I've been reading this book called The Optimistic Child. It was given to me and James, and it's really good. There's a lot of things that we're going through that is beyond kind of what this book shares, but on a kind of base level about teaching your children how to be optimistic and what the actual definition of optimistic is. It's amazing, and there's all these studies and things that say if you can build them up in this way, then it's a safeguard against depression. And so we initially were given this book because we asked a question of how do you help with that when your child's coming from an environment of such extreme depression, and then coming into this, what can we do to help? And so anyway, it's a good book. I'll post it in the comments. It's worth the read for sure. So anyway, y'all, that's all I got. I do feel like I am meant to share. I don't know if I'm going to start a blog or a YouTube channel or something for stepmamas specifically, but I hope that this can help someone. If y'all know any step parents who are looking for something that's not just about venting, please connect us, because I think we need that. We need that. And then also in the side of being a believer, I think we need to learn how to walk through being a step parent from a Christian standpoint of how do we still extend love and grace. So anyway, I love you all so much. I will be back on way later tonight for my Try It Tuesday. But God is good. We are so blessed. I hope you feel encouraged to feel the emotions. I promise you on the other side, there's freedom and deeper relationships. So, I love you all. Have a happy Tuesday. See you later. Bye, y'all.